Welcome to the Unveiling Shadows podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Mosby. Join me as I dive into powerful stories of resilience and strength. In each episode, I sit down with guests who have faced similar journeys of coercive control, financial manipulation, and personal invasion. Together, we uncover the shadows, share our experiences, and inspire others to reclaim their lives. Tune in, listen, and be a part of the community that stands tall against the forces that seek to control us. Hello. If you like this content, please like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like me to do any videos on a specific topic, please let me know. Right now, I think that we're going to talk about MKUltra and targeted individuals from a whistleblower. So let's get into it. I'll put the full link in my bio so you can watch it. It's about an hour and 20 minutes.
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. I'm sure you can imagine how difficult of a decision this was for me to decide to speak out publicly. And the support I've received has confirmed to me that I did make the right decision. And of course, it was very much needed given the severity of the problem that's sweeping the country right now in terms of gang stalking and boys to skull. So I just wanted to take the time to say that. Yeah.
I want to say something really quick. So if you see up here, it says nano implants, PX67. They can control your thought, your reaction. They can do amplified hearing, visual, obviously. They can do eye implants as well. They can activate all of these feelings or emotions or, induce sleep or attack you. So I was talking to a guy from Australia that I hope to get on my podcast. But basically, we were talking about the ways that they can manipulate you to get you into the mind control. So he said they need your DNA because he owned a company that did international contracting, some of it for governments. So he said, all you need is their DNA. You need a way to get the nanobots or nanotechnology into the person. And the favorite form or the way to get it in them the best would be injecting them with it. And then you need an asshole to put you on the list. And I said, yeah, or two. It only takes 2 phone calls to put you on the list. And it could be as much as them not liking you. So let me go through this a little bit more with you.
I began working at SIS. Actually, I have friends and family members who are military and military intelligence. And through them, I had always heard job opportunities. I thought about joining the Marines when I was younger, when I was 18. I'm 39 now. So over the years, it was something I had always thought about. And of course, after 9/11, so many jobs were created in the defense industries, homeland security. And what a lot of people don't know about is within private security, domestically within the United States. It's a booming industry. It's one of the fastest growing sectors of our economy, as generally our society is being militarized, and generally that militarization is being privatized. And as a result, what you have is many, many corporations in the United States of America and private companies that are getting a lot of money from investors under the table to begin to set up what I describe as a security apparatus around and within the United States of America. And it is in that context that I heard of the opportunity to work for security industry specialists in Seattle, Washington. They're a private security company that is headquartered in Culver City, California. And through a friend, I heard that SIS was hiring. I heard they were hiring for security specialists. And given my background in education, which is actually anthropology and sociology, most people don't see how those two connect, but by studying human beings, you can really do well within the intelligence industry and within the security industry, because it is all about learning how to deal with and talk to and communicate with, and ultimately, from our perspective, secure human beings. And so it was through friends and family that I learned about the opportunity. And I started off, like everybody else, as a low-level security guard, minimum wage. I worked my way up through the company over time, and eventually was assigned to executive protection and threat assessment, risk management. And just to tell you a little bit about that, what my official duties was to secure personnel, data, and property of VIPs that our company is hired to protect. So there's a whole lot of training that goes into that. And I became a security specialist for SIS, specializing in executive protection, also risk and threat assessment to our clients. Our clients are the companies or the individuals that we contract out with and provide services for. And
now, my question is, why do you think these executive members of these private companies would need security? That's one thing to think about.
it was in that context that I became aware of what I describe as a social engineering program and a research and development program that was being carried out by SIS and our client in Seattle, the Amazon Corporation. And it was through moving up within the SIS hierarchy and working with more and more people as I was assigned to more and more assignments, I became aware of the existence of this program. And then little by little over time, I became aware of the extent of it. And it wasn't long before I realized how horribly out of control it was, how downright evil it was. Once I began to realize that SIS was experimenting on its own employees, my fellow security specialists, I was outraged. I later learned that my company was involved in a larger social engineering program that encompassed the entire city of Seattle.
Sounds like quite a clandestine operation to me. I have to switch up my sick and twisted and my nefarious and evil acts of the private research and development companies that are hired by our government to torture people or enslave them, however you want to look at it.
That aspect of the program was experimenting on the homeless population of Seattle, Washington, who were housed in DESC, Downtown Emergency Services Center facilities. And I later learned that they were indeed experimenting with, when I say experimenting, voice to skull, hive mind, behavior modification technology that is frequency-based and directed at a targeted individual to basically control their entire person. And it was by moving up even more that I realized that this experimentation was going on against the general population of Seattle. And then just the average man and woman on the street, upper class, upper class, and even the flat out rich were having this technology used on them without their knowledge. As more and more information and details of the program became were made known to me, I became more and more outraged by it. And I spent a long time, because I had many friends within the security company. A lot of these people are great people. They're very good people. Not everybody involved in SIS is directly involved in experimenting on people. They're not all directly involved in gang stalking. I never was. I never partook in that.
You know, I like to, just for fun, research U.S. patents. No, I don't. But we're going to look at this U.S. patent 5159703, issued October 27th, 1992. Silent sound subliminal mind control. So they can get it up in the hearing range of 500 hertz output is now more or less a steady tone, sounding like tinnitus, but with hypnosis embedded, so they can mind control you, make you comply. Brain can hear voice and understand. Number 5, ear only, hears a tone or buzzing, ringing in the ears. So they have this stuff. I used to work for a communications company in Phoenix, Arizona. And I was the executive assistant to the vice president of business operations. And what fell under him was the facilities department. So they have white noise in those buildings, and they're like, oh, yeah, it's just to blend in the sound and make it so things aren't so loud. No, white noise has a purpose, and it's not for any of those things. And this current business that I'm in, this location where I'm leasing an office for my title company, I asked them to turn down the white noise, and then they came over and they were like, what are you talking about? I like to just do things so that I have documentation of me doing them. Then I save them in several different places so that I have backup of my email that I sent to them in a different location than in which I sent it. I hope that makes sense. So redundancy is probably the key if you're trying to gather evidence. But anyway, output can be via open air broadcast or piggybacked on TV/radio signals. Yeah, that's why I stopped watching the mainstream legacy news a long time ago. So let's get back to this.
But I did partake in training that deals with tactics and protocols that are used normally for surveillance and counter surveillance, but within that is all of the information and the know-how that you need to be able to gain stock, and that is in fact what they are doing. And so over time, I became outraged, and I tried to play my cards right, wait for the right moment. And when I really just couldn't tolerate it anymore, when I found out just how out of control it was, I decided to object to my superiors in person. But within SIS specifically, what happens is they are experimenting on their own employees. So it's a long story. I'll try to get through it quick. But basically, people are selected from all over the country. We're talking other cities all over America. They are selected for many different reasons. Often it is because they are isolated. They don't have a lot of money, friends, or family. And they also tend to be people that are highly, highly intelligent. The aspects of this technology that they're interested in improving upon have to do with cognitive processes, processing information, and as a result, they want highly intelligent people to be targets of this program. They also tend to target people who are into what I would call alternative research, commonly called maybe conspiracy theories, people that disagree with the government, people that are into researching things like 9/11. Also, they are interested in people that are interested in technology. I have found a high percentage of targeted individuals to be people who either are interested in or have information on highly advanced technologies, usually having to do with directed energy weapons and frequency weapons, the exact kind of weapons that we're talking about here that are used in voice to skull and behavior modification, the works. There's many other aspects to the technology. But once these people are selected, they will have the entire gang stalking / voice to skull program run against them. This is detailed in my article.
Okay, I just want to read this. Illuminati card game, 1982 plus expansion sets. I guess they have to add to it once they, go through their first set of cards. But anyway, then we can go to Orwell's 1984 as well. If you'd like to read a book or watch a movie, if you're not into reading, to educate yourself a little bit more about some of this BS. I'll call it that today because I'm being nice.
But they will be organized stock. They will have career sabotage programs run against them to ruin their job. They will have character assassinations campaigns run against them in their neighborhood. They'll be isolated from family and friends as those individuals are turned against them. And they will be isolated slowly over time using the technology itself. As many of the people freak out, understandably, when they at first don't know what it is. Oftentimes, they end up going to psychiatrists and false diagnoses of schizophrenia, manic depression, delusional, paranoid are rendered against this individual.
Okay, let's look at these two books. Murder by Injection, the story of the medical conspiracy against America, which you're going to be lucky if you can probably find that book. And we're going to go to Sigmund Freud, who was basically a psychologist. There's differences between psychologists and psychiatrists. And they don't call it the PSYOPs program for no reason, because these people that are higher up in this psychological warfare are probably psychopaths, would be my guess. I've been going to therapy for a really long time. And I've often thought that I think these therapists have more problems than I do. You know, just an observation.
And it turns out that that's a loophole in the law that they are using to take away people's constitutional rights, as once you are deemed mentally unfit to care for yourself, i.e. you're depressed, delusional, paranoid, etc., they use that, the state or the federal government uses that as an excuse to come in and say that they have to care for you. So I would warn all targeted individuals out there, please do not go to psychiatrists and allow them to render a diagnosis against you, because that is a dirty trick they're using to take away the rights of people all over the country.
Yep, which I know because my ex-parents tried to get me institutionalized for 360 days against my will. And when they couldn't get that to stick, they called me a drug addict and, spread a bunch of rumors about me. It really is disheartening, I guess, in a way, that family members would do this. But they're being mind controlled too. I mean, that's something that you have to understand. And most of them, you know, probably are either part of it, getting paid by it, or just are flat right out. I'm going to say right out stupid.
That's a great question. I do not have direct knowledge of that personally in terms of an individual, how they are selected. What I can speak to intelligently, though, is that each individual fits the general profile that I'm describing. So they're highly intelligent. They are able to be isolated by whatever means. They normally have some sort of what I would describe as a free mind. They're people that aren't, part of the crowd, so to speak, in the way that they think. They're outsiders. They're what the government would call dissidents or revolutionaries, or people that may be a problem. Some TIs have said that this kind of profile that all TIs fits is empowered individuals, and I would definitely agree with that. But I cannot speak to how they actually identify an individual person. I think the general profile that I'm describing that fits the targets of this program is something that is generated high up within the program. We're talking at the federal government.
They socially profile, I guarantee it. And then someone gets pissed off at you, they put you on a list with the Fusion Center, which I sent a cease and desist letter to them. Do you think they stopped? No. And this is how it all trickles downhill. You know?
Level, we're talking at the highest levels of this social engineering program, where scientists from all over the country and all over the world, they're looking at someone's genetics, they're looking at someone's cognitive abilities, they're looking at someone's genes, they're looking at someone's DNA, they're looking at people's social situation, they're looking at people's career. I've been very surprised that so many PhDs are actually targets of this program. And they're usually PhDs that have gone against the grain in terms.
I'm going to say something because they should have looked at me when I was 4 years old and I was in kindergarten. And I went to school early because I was able to pass these tests. They give you tests to see if you're ready to be enrolled in kindergarten. So I knew my numbers. I knew all, the ABCs, whatever. And then I was like, I don't really feel like going to school. I don't really feel like going to your institution. And so I ended up talking my sister into sloughing when I was 4 years old and, or we'll say skipping school. I talked my sister into skipping school when I was 4. She was in first grade and I was in kindergarten. But that's just because I didn't want to be there. So if they thought that I was going to comply starting from a young age, they were completely wrong. Then I hope that other people have the courage to come up and step out of their fear and start speaking up.
In terms of what academia normally teaches, usually within the fields of science and technology. And the reason for this is because people running the program want to cover up certain technologies and certain aspects of science that can lead through to tremendous breakthroughs. These highest levels of science and technology are the sole purview of classified sectors of our government and military. And as a result, it is not, the opinion is that the American people do not have the right to this information and is in the national security interest of our country to keep it classified.
It's really not, because it's time for full disclosure and it's time for people to know the truth and stop listening to the news on the legacy news stations and start doing your own research. There's plenty of whistleblowers out there. There are plenty of targeted individuals that know what they're doing. And you've got this cross-border funding of nanotechnology research, countries that sponsored at least 250 nanotechnology papers from August 2008 to July of 2009, and their collaborations. So look at the difference. You got this number and you've got this one. US is 13,800 and CCP is 4,500. And then Germany is a little small. Those numbers have probably increased since, the vid.
And so that is the answer to your question. What I will do, though, is take this opportunity to distinguish really quickly between the larger phenomenon of TIs that is usually a person in America that's being targeted by the technology and is being gang stalked by members of their community, and the specific program that I am whistleblowing on. The specific program I am whistleblowing on involves the actual abduction of TIs from around America. They're put on a Greyhound bus and they are shipped to Seattle, where they are made homeless. They live in one of the homeless shelters where they are housed and experimented on with voice-to-skull technology, and then they are funneled into SIS to work as low-level security guards, where they are experimented on even more. So that is a specific program, and that's what I detail in my blog and my website. But because I am familiar with that program that utilizes the same tactics of gang stalking and the use of this technology against individuals, my knowledge on that program applies to what all TIs are going through. It's the exact same technology, and it's the exact same gang stalking tactics that are used against them. In terms of numbers, I know that there are right now at least 300 to 400 individuals in downtown Seattle that have been abducted from all over the United States, brought to downtown Seattle, and are being housed in DESC, Downtown Emergency Services Center, homeless shelters, and being experimented on 24/7.
Which is extremely cruel and inhumane. So I'm going to talk about frequencies here for a minute, because there are frequencies that can combat some of this electromagnetic weaponry that we're experiencing. So there is a machine that's called an organ machine, and it puts out certain frequencies, like one frequency, or the Schumann resonance frequency. And I use that quite frequently, particularly when I'm in a spot where I know that, where I can feel it and I can hear the vibration and hear the ringing in my ears. And it does make it subside for me. However, with that being said, the machine is quite expensive if you're going to get a good one. And so the fact that we have to sit and protect ourselves from something that we didn't sign up for, that we will not comply with, and we did not give full consent to, is ridiculous. I'm going to say that. And we shouldn't have to be doing any of this bullshit. But then again, that's part of the asset stripping. We'll come up with these other devices because these people know what's going on. And then we'll make you spend money on it to get that device to stop some of this frequency bullshit. And I switch up the frequencies quite often, because I don't want them to get locked on a certain signal. And then they're going to have to rearrange their, satellite or their RF, the radio frequency hertz. I'm not an engineer or a scientist, but I just am trying to protect myself as much as I can and make my body more alkaline. And in an alkaline state, this wetware cannot survive. So baking soda in water is a really good one. It will make your body instantly alkaline.
The numbers of SIS employees that have been experimented on, to my knowledge, is in the dozens. That's all I have direct knowledge of, though, about 24 to 36. And then nationwide, the estimates in terms of targeted individuals who still maintain some manner of autonomy and freedom and have not been brought to Seattle or enslaved completely by this. The estimates I have heard is anywhere from 1 to 2 million at the moment. And we're talking full-blown TIs that get the technology and are being gang stalked 24/7. Those are the estimates that I'm familiar with. This is discussed very much in the open within SIS and with some of the liaison contacts that I had with DESC, Amazon, and then also members of the military that are in a civilian capacity. One thing you have to understand is that
opening doors to end homelessness is really a front for the institution. And there are many of them like that. So, they're philanthropic organizations are really not what they appear to be. So I would stop donating to any basically nonprofit agency unless you specifically know that they are helping people and that they don't have a link to the establishment.
That within the security business, most of the people working there are ex-military and ex-intelligence operatives. And many of them, in fact, are still active intelligence operatives and have simply been reassigned to domestic duty to work with a private security company, specifically for the purposes of carrying out this highly illegal program that's being run against TIs all over America. So full-blown TIs, what I would call people that are getting the voice to skull, the frequency, and the organized stalking, I have heard is between 1 and 2 million, and that could be completely off. But one of the things I'm concerned about is the technology as it's being researched and developed in Seattle utilizes emotion manipulation and behavior manipulation without the gang stalking and without the voice to skull aspects. And so this use of the technology can be done very covertly to the point where the person it's being used against will not know that this technology is being used against them. And that is one of my main concerns and one of the reasons why I want to bring more light to this technology and to this issue, because this technology could potentially be being used against tens to hundreds of millions of Americans every day.
So if you want to do a little more research on some of this, you can find some videos, hopefully still on Dr. Robert Duncan. Dr. Robert Duncan did a video, I'll try to find it, where like they were using this technology to torture some doctors. And they made one guy poke out his eardrums, I think, from what the video said, because Dr. Robert Duncan started laughing about that part. And I didn't think it was very funny because none of this technology is funny to me. I'm like disgusted by it. And I hope, like I said, I hope I make people feel bad about themselves. And in actuality, some people should be in prison for life for doing this shit against civilians without their consent. They're breaking the law. This is an illegal operation.
I've mentioned in some of my podcasts how there are field effects where they will not direct this technology at an individual, but create a general field of frequency in a geographical area so that everybody that within that geographical area is feeling the effects of the technology. It's more of a general application of the technology instead of an individual specific application of the technology. But when you consider that use of it and the fact that it is used for emotion and thought and behavior modification, then we could potentially be looking at many, many millions of people across the country that are under the influence of the technology today, right now. The area of the geographical areas that I'm familiar with are limited to the size of maybe a downtown area of a city, so that the frequency that's being emitted by the device will have an effect on a geographical location, let's say downtown Seattle. And so what they can do is within this general field, they can broadcast a frequency that affects human beings within that frequency field and can induce a general mood of, let's say, happiness or sadness, anger, agitation, peacefulness. And in this way, they can have an overall effect in the city. And I have seen this done, and it is remarkable how effective it is, because you will walk down the street of Seattle and literally see people all in a bad mood, all at the same time, and they do not know each other. And then you go over a block or two to a different office building, and you walk in, and the exact same thing's going on there. It's very, very concerning. So within that, then, that overall bubble or area of frequency where everybody, let's say, is in a bad mood, they can still inject what would be a individual specific frequency to the targeted individual themselves, let's say the homeless person in Seattle that's being experimented on 24 hours a day. So they will be under the influence of the general agitated mood or bad mood that everybody else is in, and then they can more further be manipulated by the frequency that's being directed.
Okay, so do you read this? Man stomps baby girl to death. Now that is MKUltra. In my opinion, this is MKUltra.
Solely at them.
My guess would be yes, this would affect all of this. So one of my guys that I like to watch on YouTube, his YouTube channel and Rumble channel is Look Out for Charlie. And Look Out for Charlie has a video on one of his posts that show people being arrested as being intoxicated, and they're put away for a DUI when they have no alcohol in their system whatsoever. They were being hit with this technology and then being put away and arrested for a DUI that didn't exist. Well, it existed, but just not from alcohol.
Absolutely, yes. That is exactly what the people running this program have in mind in terms of application of this particular feature. It is to, or at least it can be used to induce riots, for example, or stop riots. It could be very, very dangerous, and it's a great point you bring up about traffic patterns and auto accidents. I mean, this is messing with the innermost part of human beings, their emotions. And so you can imagine how irresponsible it is to actually manipulate someone into being in a bad mood, and manipulate everybody in town into being in a bad mood. And then they get in their cars and they drive around where their own safety and other people's safety is at risk. It's a huge, huge problem. And you can imagine the applications of this if anyone ever wanted to start a riot, if anyone ever wanted to increase the crime rate. And then, of course, you can use it for the exact same opposite. You can use it to decrease the crime rate by making everyone passive. And that could have nefarious applications as well if you want people to be passive and not pay attention and not take action. It can be used for that as well. So, yes, the mind is boggled by the possibilities in terms of what this could be used for. The radio frequencies, microwave signals, the entire spectrum of radio frequencies can be used within a certain range to produce all sorts of different effects. So,
including but not limited to your computer, your cell phone, any electronic from, another land where we get stuff really, really cheap, which, is purchased by almost everybody because it is inexpensive. And we have a problem of overconsumption in the United States with products that aren't made here, in my opinion.
The way it works is a device broadcasts a radio frequency, let's say at an individual, and that radio frequency will hook up with the resonant frequency of the individual's mind or body, or in this case, DNA. And what happens is once the resonant frequency is found in the targeted individual and the broadcast frequency matches up with that resonant frequency, those two frequencies interlock and they can be thought of as one frequency or one energy. And what happens is between the broadcast frequency and the individual that's receiving the broadcast frequency, once it's resonating, once they are resonating together, a super highway of frequency along which information can be sent is created. And so you can think of it just like fiber optic cables that you use to send signals over the internet that connect.
And the fiber optic cables are our bodies. Surprise! Okay, that's enough of this video. I'm going to move on to something else. But if you like what I'm putting out there, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and leave any comments below on things that you would like me to cover. And as always, stay strong. We got this. Don't let them take your light.
Thank you for listening to the Unveiling Shadows podcast. I hope today's episode has shed light on the experiences that too often remain hidden. If you or someone you know has a story to share, please reach out to me. Remember, you're not alone and your voice matters. Follow me on social media and subscribe to the podcast for more inspiring stories. Until next time, stay strong and keep unveiling the shadows.